Everything said in this video falls under the protections of the First Amendment of the United States of America. Hi, my name is Readus, and for the past, 10 years in October? Damn, that's when I became official with the loves of my life. Good shit really does happen during spooky season. But yeah, for the past 10 years, I've been making an attempt to be civil. And it wasn't until recently that I decided that being civil kinda sucks. Like, there was a period back when I was trying to, like Mac does it, be the black Grace Helbig of YouTube, where I cared about making sure that my stuff was something that everyone could enjoy while at the same time still being true to myself. But recently I realized that part of being true to myself is telling people who don't like my stuff to fuck off. And before you ask, yes, it has everything to do with race and gender and sexuality. Why? Because that's me. That's who I am. Even during my Grace Helbig era. Even back when I was trying to be The Daily Show / Last Week Tonight of geek and pop culture. Even when Eliza Hansen of Maven of the Eventide fame first told Lindsay Ellis about me, and I first entered the video essay arena with our Falling in Love with Monsters collab. Which was years before I showed FD Signifier my first, now demonetized Candyman video essay, and he pointed most of y'all in my direction instead of the gay white privileged Canadian plagiarist whose medical condition keeps him from being the gutless bottom twink he feels that he deserves to be in his very soul. Being black and being queer are just as important aspects about my life as the things white supremacist patriarchy and capitalism says you should actually focus on. It's kind of the reason why ever since my video essays on queer representation in media, and especially the one I made on a black person's perspective of a Goofy movie, you know, the one that I'm sure that the writers of Atlanta watched before they made that mockumentary episode during its final season, or that the creators of that documentary they sold to Disney Plus watched without properly compensating me for the clips of said video that they used it in. I've been leaning more toward getting people who watch a better understanding of the differences between respect and respectability. Because just like James Baldwin said, we can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. Yes, I am, once more, quoting James Baldwin. Because fuck you. The denial of both my blackness and my queerness is a denial of my humanity. This is why I'm glad that one of the individuals who has been campaigning for the extermination of myself and other people like myself is no longer here. When my partner let me know that he was no longer of this plane of existence, I reacted very similarly to a 40-something-year-old Jew from Jersey who's never opened a can of Pillsbury biscuits before. And yes, I am completely aware that specific life is just one of many individuals I have the displeasure of sharing this white nationalist nation formed from land stolen by the countless indigenous natives of Abya Yala with. But right now, the loss of this one hateful, spiteful, limp, dick-faced example of a human being who once had bodily autonomy and control of 2 young girls he helped bring into this world, in which his total contribution was like, 5 seconds max, is being used by fascists as an excuse to be fascists. Because don't get me wrong, ever since he did what he did to Quinta that one time, even if she did get her lick back, I never really fucked with Jimmy like that. Shit, I saw the way Stephen Colbert tried to grill Mayor Mamdani with those ridiculous ass questions the night that he won the primary. I'm not giving him any slack either just because he's Jon Stewart's friend and is finally allowing his drapes to match his carpet. Double shit. Speaking of John, I'm still kind of low-key upset when he got back on The Daily Show and said it was too soon to call the 47th regime authoritarian earlier in 2025. But what Disney did, what Bob Iger and these greedy-ass execs did, just to make sure that this fascist administration's FC czar wouldn't interfere with their plans to have full ownership of the fourth side of the monopoly board, goes against everything that the First Amendment currently represents for the relatively sane people who live here today. And I have to preface that because the Founding Fathers were what? Say it with me, class. Also racist. Very good. Washington's dentures weren't made of wood, they were made with the teeth of his slaves. Alexander Hamilton, the one on the 20 that Lin-Manuel Miranda wouldn't shut the fuck up about for the longest time, also had slaves. It is absolutely clear that when the Founding Fathers wrote the First Amendment, they didn't count us because we weren't considered people back then. We were property. People, like the man who got unalive talking shit about us, still think of us like that. Even though we can vote. Even though we can purchase land. Even though our dollar is just as valuable as theirs. Hell, more, considering what we were initially brought over here to do. Even when we forget who we are, where we came from, and who we mean to others like us in prioritizing seeking survivability in the midst of the concept of whiteness, they still don't consider us people. And I refuse to agree to disagree over something like that just to make sure I get invited to Paul and Carlene's "salt is too spicy for me" ass barbecue they host at their place 2 houses down every August. We and everyone else who knows better than to put Mr. Rogers and propaganda in the same fucking sentence together are who Disney turned their back on in their initial decision to succumb to the wanton ego of a baby. A petulant man-child who has run smear campaigns that severely traumatized 4 black New Yorkers being accused of the same thing that got Emmett Till killed. She's still free and alive, by the way. Has gone on record saying that he would have sex with his own daughter and has more than likely had sex with a lot of other people's daughters with his 1% ass friends. Or at least tried to. I don't know what his current T count is nowadays, but I'm pretty sure it's low. And this is on top of Disney completely hollowing out their own creative vaults and trying to squeeze as much money out of the IPs people once trusted them to properly respect as possible. A company caring more about collecting the first gay Infinity Stones just to say that they did it first, only to be presented with the opportunity to establish true queer representation in they shit, and instead just pat themselves on the back and goes, "That's enough activism for today. You did good, guys." A company that will gladly take black, brown, and queer dollars while only giving them an ounce, a iota of representation or proper marketing for said representation in return. I mean, the fact that Disney found a way to use Mary Poppins to try and give capitalism the one bad apple excuse that conservatives give cops every time they kill a black or brown person unprovoked is fucking wild. It was only thanks to the fact that they lost almost $4 billion And we're threatened with the cancellation of Disney Plus subscriptions, the boycotting of Disney theme parks, and finding places elsewhere to host their million-dollar weddings, probably from people in the blue states because they make the money that the red states need to survive, that Disney agreed to put Kimmel back on the air for all the wrong reasons. Because I guarantee you, readers, they didn't reverse that decision because they realized it was the right thing to do. They did it because they lost money and wanted it back. Which only proves, once more, that if you want change for black, brown, and queer people, you have to fuck up the right white folks' cash flow. That's it! It also proves that Disney, at the end of the day, doesn't care about you. It only cares about your money. So stop giving it to them. Give it to PBS, who needs it way more than they do. Triple shit, give it to me. Yes, they fought back and properly lawyered up against DeSantis when he was villainizing the gays in Florida, like he usually does. But that was during the Biden administration and when they wanted queer dollars because they just realized rainbow capitalism was a thing. But because the second term of the administration before Biden has more Nazis in it than the first one and went full-blown authoritarian Project 2025 style after like day 2, more challenges are being made to our democracy the longer these people stay in power instead of being buried 6 feet under, to the point where now anything that can threaten the current status quo of the peeps over at Disney, ABC, Nexstar, and Sinclair, the latter two being the owners of lots of local ABC-affiliated stations that are still actively showcasing their sub/dom kink with the 47th administration without our consent, is a liability. And remember, this isn't the first time Nexstar and Sinclair licked that motherfucker's boot. They literally, along with Tenga, canceled The Late Show in order to make sure the Paramount Skydance merger went through without a hitch. These motherfuckers don't care about you. And low-key, they only really care about democracy if they money being fucked with. Why? Because they're so rich that they can afford to not be negatively affected by fascism. The same fascism that, for all intents and purposes, was only allowed to evolve the way that it did because a capitalism-type Pokemon was given a racism stone at level 5. Motherfucker didn't even get a chance to learn Bubble first. So no, I'm not calling you a good boy, Disney. You shouldn't have bowed to fascism in the first place. I'm also not congratulating you for doing the bare minimum, especially since you had to be threatened with the loss of your allowance in order to do so. This is what you should have done the first time. And because this is the second time you have failed to stand up to fascism without the threat of losing customers, you can no longer make me believe that you actually give a fuck about the public you provide entertainment for. That also means that even though Disney tried to reverse the damage by giving Kimmel his show back, I'm still taking away their monthly allowance. Even if my videos on their stuff do well here on the channel, even if I see proper black, brown, and queer representation from them in the future. And honestly, you shouldn't either. There are multiple ways you can watch their exclusives, and I say that as someone that can properly write streaming service subscriptions off on my taxes. Because the more we award bad behavior, the more they'll think they can keep getting away with this. Oh, and also, if you've noticed that the wave of support outrage and straight up protest that resulted in this situation ending the way that it did was way bigger than any other attempt since January 2025 because those things didn't affect said participants' constitutional rights, then congratulations. You've just been exposed to the concept of white liberalism. And like Charlie Kirk, that also needs to die. Have a great day.